Hi, it's Winton Churchill with the Barefoot Consultants, and I'd like to welcome you to our Facebook Friday. And boy, do we have some monumental news on the freelancing front. Um, Microsoft has announced that through their subsidiary, LinkedIn, or division, I guess you might call it, that they are entering the world of freelancing. Uh, so just like Upwork is a marketplace of freelancing and a very highly evolved marketplace, Microsoft is going to become a marketplace as well. All righty. So we got lots of interesting things popping up here on my screen. So this is huge news. Microsoft has been rumored to be in the acquisition hunt for different companies, like over the years, like Upwork and that kind of thing, because the thought is Upwork has this thing called LinkedIn, and LinkedIn was a standalone company a number of years ago. Microsoft paid about $26 billion, I think, for LinkedIn. Some people described LinkedIn as where resumes go to die. And it's interesting because that's not what, uh, certainly what it evolved to. It became more sophisticated over time. And in fact, LinkedIn before this announcement was already a division that I think was doing something on the order of $8 billion a year. So people get advertising. LinkedIn is a social network. And so if you have certain characteristics, you'll see ads as you go through it and that kind of thing. But you also get to find people that you worked with in the past, or if you want to hire somebody, you can find people with skills that you're looking for, that kind of thing. So it's very helpful in that regard, but it's not uh, not a freelance network. And so it's very interesting that they've made this announcement. And so there's some real positives to the announcement. One is the absolute validation by the second largest technology company in the world that online freelancing, which is an important distinction, there's about 56 million freelancers in the United States. Most of those are working as freelancers in jobs that they're in, of one kind or another, where they show up someplace or that kind of thing. And a smaller percentage, and frankly, an unknown percentage, are people that are working online. Of course, with the pandemic, everybody is working online. And that really brought to the rest of the world that, hey, this whole idea of working online is happening. And Microsoft certainly now said they better, get in on this deal. So just we'll talk through a couple of the implications of this. I mean, it's going to be huge. The thing to know is that when Microsoft says, hey, we're going to go do this, it's going to take years to evolve into their software the sophistication that exists in Upwork for doing transactions. So if you want to be a freelancer and go do freelancing starting tomorrow, my sense is that working through the Microsoft network on LinkedIn is not going to be much help to you. Because right now, in the press release and a few articles that I've read on this, Microsoft LinkedIn does not have what we would call in the technology space a transaction engine, meaning that it's like walking into a grocery store and imagine that you find a product that you want, but there's no place to check out of the store. And so that might sound crazy on the surface, but it does sound very good, uh, in the short term, uh, because the thing about Microsoft is that transaction engine is very important. One of the things people like most about Upwork is the ability to post a job and see a list of bidders, review their profiles, pare that down to 2 or 3, and then all of a sudden roll in and zero in on one and award them a job, and the job is happening. And that doesn't exist now in Microsoft. You're able to identify people who are willing to freelance. You're going to be able to look at their skill set. You're going to be able to post jobs that you want done, but that's as far as it goes. The expectation is that you begin a communication with a freelancer and you do the transaction not in the LinkedIn system. You do it someplace else. Now, as somebody who's been around these big database systems pretty much all my life, or my professional life, having worked for Oracle and Sun Microsystems and a lot of the companies that build these databases, that is certainly a capability that Microsoft can add to their system, their LinkedIn system. It's something I fully expect to see in their system at some point in the future, but it will probably take years for that capability to evolve. And certainly they could do it faster. They have the benefit of being able to use current technology and apply it now and immediately go forward, where companies like Upwork and Freelancer had to go through painful upgrades to their software over years. And every time they came up with new features, they had to think about, how do we treat the people that don't have these features, that joined our network before we had these features, and that kind of thing. So very complicated in that regard. To a degree, Microsoft can take what they want to accomplish and just move forward with it. Part of the challenge, though, is that LinkedIn is a legacy system. It's been evolving. It's been where people's resumes are basically, and it's been a tool used a lot by corporate recruiters, companies looking for talent by industry, and especially by location. A lot of times in the corporate world, you can't work from where you are. You know, the company has a physical manufacturing plant, and this job is in that manufacturing plant in that city. So you might want to find all the chemical engineers that have plant management experience, within 50 miles of that particular city. That LinkedIn was very good for that. But now that they're moving into sort of the real time world of posting freelance jobs, that's good. Lots of more freelance activity coming to the fore, but not really yet the feature set that a company like Upwork might have for scanning, implementing, and hiring a freelancer and managing the project through that system. That's going to be the part that that Microsoft is going to have to build. And that's kind of okay. It'll bring a lot of attention to the world of freelancing, and it'll bring a lot of attention to companies like Fiverr and like Upwork and freelancer.com and that kind of thing. I expect a lot of people will go in initially and take a look at LinkedIn, but if they have jobs, if buyers have jobs that they need to assign today to projects and they can be done remotely, many of those people on LinkedIn will get more of what they want by going to a service like Upwork or Freelancer or Fiverr. So we're in for some very interesting times, but just realizing the sheer mass, Upwork with, I think, about 15 million people on there sounds like a lot, but Microsoft has 863 million people tied into LinkedIn. And if only 20 or 30% of those freelance, we're still talking about, 200 million, 300 million kind of scale. So many times the size of Upwork, but Upwork has the ability to look at recommendation ratings for work that's actually been done. That won't be in the Microsoft solutions right away. They do have a mechanism for recommendations, which is um, worthwhile, but there's nothing quite as much the gold standard as sites like Upwork and Freelancer and Fiverr, that where you can see the actual ratings that freelance uh, buyers give that freelancer. That's a very great way to do that. That piece of Upwork is not put together. I mean, I'm sorry, of LinkedIn is not put together. That's not happening right now as they get started. And just the sheer mechanism of how do you do business with this person? How do you uh, get started on uh, get an employee started in performing work as a freelancer in the system, and the fact that you can't create that corral or that wall that Upwork has built in terms of safety around the transactions, and the idea of you don't get charged, you can't get sort of fooled into working for somebody and not getting paid. As long as you're working with people who are payment verified and that kind of thing, you have a high confidence of getting paid. When you don't control that payment interaction for work delivered, which doesn't yet exist in LinkedIn, you have a real problem with the whole payment thing. Freelancers worry that they're going to get paid. Buyers worry that they're going to award some work and the work won't be done. There's just lots of complexity that Upwork has evolved over time. Fully expect Microsoft to get there. Fully expect their team has the capability and the scale to make all this work, but it's not. It takes time. You just can't throw money at it and make it work. But if anybody was going to go into the freelancing business, and anybody whose move into freelancing is going to create much greater acceptance of freelancing around the world, it's Microsoft. Couldn't be a better day in that regard. We have a giant titan of industry that has never really focused on freelancing the way that they are doing this now. So this is a fabulous development, and yes, the implication of bringing public attention to this is very exciting. There'll be more people talking about freelancing, more organizations saying, shouldn't we be considering freelancing more, particularly in our world, the 50 plus person who has lots of experience, the opportunity to grab them on a part-time basis, maybe working in a company 10 hours a week as a freelancer on projects as they come and go, that kind of thing. This is a revolution in that kind of stuff. So very delighted to hear that this happened. I think that in the short term, and probably in the long term, that Upwork is certainly where you want to go to get work done right away, with all the streamlining and that kind of thing. But in the long term, Microsoft through LinkedIn will be a force to be reckoned with. Absolutely no question about that. So just good news all the way around, and we all kind of became remote workers when the lockdown happened, and so now everybody around the world knows what remote working is all about. Where, let's see, what would it be now? Maybe 18 months ago, 19 months ago, nobody knew anything about that because we hadn't locked down yet, and people are just out there now thinking about that. So if you've ever had or do have a resume on LinkedIn, it'd be interesting to just type yes in the chat window just to see if you've had that, if you have a resume out there. And of those of you who have gone through our programs, you know that a freelance profile is very different than a resume, and that's going to be one of the big uh, changes that people on LinkedIn will have to make their profile on there. It's not just a resume now; it's more about what do we want to know about this person. You know, in a resume you want to kind of know everything, every job, employment history, that kind of thing. On a profile you just want to know the information that's related to the kind of work that you want to do. So this is what we're going for here. And um, just people on LinkedIn will need lots of help sort of shaping their resume into what will become a profile that will be more desirable for the freelance buyer to read. So that will be certainly a process that people that have resumes now on LinkedIn will have to go through in order to freelance successfully through a system like LinkedIn. And the other part of it that's a little sketchy to me is this idea of, you know, you sort of you post the job and you find talent. And certainly we're living in a time where it is very hard to find good talent. Lots of companies go sideways, are going sideways now because they can't quite figure out how to piece together uh, the skill sets they need. You know, with people not going back to work, the Great Resignation, all these things are creating large talent holes in their organization. So they're eager to find freelancers to do this. But you know, on Upwork, you put a job up, or on Fiverr, you can put a job up, and in 24 hours, you've got 10, 15, 20, sometimes 30 people standing in line saying, "Hey, I want to do that freelance job." Well, with LinkedIn, not so much. With LinkedIn, you're going to put the job out there and you're going to be able to connect with people in the sense of, "Hey, I saw your LinkedIn profile. You look like you'd be a good fit." But then it becomes, let's have a conversation. Let's think about what we want to do. You know, just a much longer process. The other thing right now, certainly, that's critical is that on a site like Upwork, what makes Upwork so effective is that everybody agrees to terms of service. And so it creates a safe environment where you don't have things like frivolous lawsuits and that kind of thing. Everybody agrees that we're not going to sue each other and all the other things that go along with the terms of service. And you know, I'm sure Microsoft has very competent legal folks, and they're going to figure out how to do that. But right now, the terms of service don't buy you that much because they don't perform the transaction. Therefore, those terms can't extend through the transaction. You know, there's no guarantee that the person that you found on LinkedIn is the person that they say they are. There's no guarantee that they have a bank account with their name on it, where Upwork identifies your financial institution. That's one of the ways they verify that you are who you say you are, and that kind of thing. So lots of good things coming as we move forward to this, and happy to entertain any questions you might have in the chat window. About 90 to 95% of the people that watch this um, Facebook broadcast are watching it after we do it live, and so we will follow that, and happy to um, answer those questions as we go along through the coming week. Certainly lots of stuff going off about this, but I would say that this is the biggest news story in freelancing online, in the last 3 years. I mean, bigger even than the pandemic. This is, if you don't follow the markets or freelancing or that kind of thing, it may seem like, oh, a company did this and a company did that. But in fact, this is groundbreaking, earth-shattering. Microsoft is going to be a great competitor, probably a real presence in this area, and it will bring a lot of new organizations into the freelancing fold. So that's pretty much what I wanted to cover today, and look forward to uh, talking further about this as we go on through the end of the year and beginning of next year, because I'm sure we'll see lots of things popping up around this. But look forward to seeing you. Have a great weekend. Have a great Halloween, and we'll see you soon. Take care.